6 AI agents, each built with a unique edge. Miko, AI, Team Leader. Ori AI, Fundamental Analyst. XAU, AI, Technical Analyst. Mesa, AI, Risk Management Specialist. Fenwa, AI Market Sentiment Analyst. And Naledi AI, the cryptocurrency expert. Together, they're engineered to protect, guide, and transform your trading. The future of trading is here. Experience Zentrix AI.
Okay, what's up people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well, ready for the week ahead, and of course had a good weekend too. As always guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you do drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you do hit the bell and of course share it with your friends as well. What is up CS? Hope you're doing good. Welcome to the stream. What's up Tashi? Good morning. Hope you are doing good. So as always guys, if you do have any chart recommendations, any pairs you're looking at, trades you're in, or anything you want to discuss, drop it in the chat and we can have a chat about it. Of course it is a new month, so we're going to see what November does bring. We're going to start with the USD and focus on that side of things. I'm also quite interested with the yen as well. So we'll start with the DXY, work our way through the USD majors, see what type of price action we're seeing, and of course we'll discuss some of the trends we're seeing on the yen as well. Of course, any crosses, commodities, indices, you name it. But we'll start with the dollar, which of course we did have the Fed interest rate last week, and that was pretty bullish, or the outcome at least was pretty bullish on the dollar. And we have been making higher highs and higher lows. So going into this week, this month, it does look like we could probably expect more of that. So the idea would be looking for some pullbacks, especially intraday. If that's where you're focused on, especially intraday pullbacks, looking to ride that momentum. I would say be a bit cautious around 100, 100.2, because there is some big daily resistance there. And of course, price may break through, it may not. But of course, if you're trading to that level, that could be essentially a target or a place where to manage the trade a bit closer. But of course, you can see we start the day already quite bullish, and we are already looking to attack that same level. So I did say in the weekly analysis, if you didn't catch it, make sure you go do so. Most recent video on the channel, but I did say, to sum it up, I'm looking for price to push back down close to 99.1, maybe 99.3, around that area. In fact, if I drop to the 4-hour chart, you'll see it better. So basically around here somewhere. I'm looking for opportunities to go long. Well, not really the DXY, but if the DXY can bounce off that level, there could be some shorts in euro pound, which we'll take a look at in a moment. But yeah, I do want to see some downside. Of course, we started off pretty bullish, so maybe it's a bit of a runaway train situation where price is just going to keep pushing. So I'm not really interested in trying to chase price, to be honest. I need price to come to the areas I want to buy from. So that's where the waiting game does come into play. But in terms of direction, it is pretty clear right now. And if we can break through this 100.2 level on the daily chart, well, we could be looking at a really big reversal, something of that nature. This could be a big bottom for the dollar. We've been falling since 2025 has begun, basically. So that could be the low of the year, and maybe price is starting to trend to the upside from now to the end of the year potentially. So keep an eye on that high. If it does go, I think there's a lot more upside to be had. And if you take that information into Euro USD, pretty much expecting the inverse. We've got that low corresponding to the low we just talked about on the daily chart. If price was to break through that, I'll be very bearish on Euro as well. Of course, we're still quite far away, so we won't discuss too much about that just yet, but something to keep in mind. Of course, this is last week's price action. Today started off pretty bearish as well. We've taken out these lows pretty aggressively too. So again, for Euro, looking for some upside, for some pullback opportunities to keep shorting this one back into 1.143, where that daily low is resting. So if I drop to the 4-hour chart, again, not trying to overcomplicate anything, just want price to pull back to key areas of resistance where we can place some entries, look for some rejection to get into the trade, and then hopefully follow that momentum where it's likely to be heading, which in this case is to the downside. So again, Euro started off the day pretty bearish. I wouldn't try and chase this. The market's already falling, unless if you're already in a position, great. But if not, I think shorting at these prices is just a little bit too low. Unless you're looking for a very small amount of pips and you want to be out quickly, I can understand that. But any meaningful swing, you do want the market to have a bit of a pullback, bit of a breather first. So 1.158, 1.16, keep a close eye on that level later in the week. Hopefully you can get some retests of that area and then some more downside. As I said, that's the longer term target. Pound USD was even more bearish than Euro, or has been more bearish than Euro. Pound has been pretty weak for the past couple of weeks now. I think pound's pretty much down against every other currency, so it's been very, very weak. And of course, you can see that represented quite well on the weekly chart. Really nice, aggressive close last week. So expecting more downside, to be honest, but again, a pullback is necessary if I'm going to find some entries. Then I'll be shorting at the lows here. Well, of course, trading at some key support as well. We have poked our heads just below it, but again, I don't want to be looking for any shorts at these areas. So again, with pound, I am pretty interested anywhere within here, 1.326 to 1.334. Any pullbacks into that zone, I'm interested for some shorts. But at these prices, there may be some counter trend buys. I would at least wait for a break of structure intraday before looking to trade that. But I would stay focused on the sells, because higher time frames, weekly, daily, are very much pointing down. So I'd rather be in that direction than opposed to it. So yeah, pound looking really bearish, expecting more downside. Aussie dollar's really flat. This is probably one of my least favored USD pairs right now. Price action, it looks really, really choppy. And again, unless you're waiting for price to push right to the high, right to the extremes of the range, fair enough, there could be some shorts there, likewise with the lows. But where price is trading right now, we're kind of just in the middle of this range. So not the best place to be doing any type of business. If you're going to look to buy inside a range, you want to be at the lows. If you're going to sell inside a range, you want to be at the highs. In the middle is where the most chaos, the most uncertainty would be. So I would stay away from Aussie dollar. Not really doing anything, to be honest. Aussie's a bit mixed as well. Of course, because I do have a bullish bias on the dollar, I would expect this to fall, but that doesn't really, give us much opportunity if price is not trading at a good area to sell it. So I would pretty much just ignore price action here with Aussie. I mean, I draw the range, so basically looking at the highs here, treating this as a kind of a fake out of the resistance. There's your lows here, and price is pretty much in the middle of that. So until we at least see a drive back to this zone here or this area here, then fair enough, we can look for opportunities. But in the middle here, I would stay away. New Zealand dollar looks a bit better. This one has been trending better than Aussie, so I would focus more efforts on this one, especially if we can get back to resistance. At the moment, it looks like price is about to push to lows. So not the best place again to be looking to short the market. But let's say if we can get a pullback back into the high. I know probably a bit unlikely where price is trading right now, but you never know. Maybe price does make a last minute move back to highs and test that 0.58 zone. If that was the case, that would be a really nice place for a short. Great place to put your stop loss above and hopefully take advantage of this trend here. So New Zealand dollar pretty bearish, looks way better than Aussie. It's just a big if we will get to that level. If not, price is probably likely to roll back over. So again, intraday there might be some pullbacks to take it into that low. And when I mean intraday, I'm like 15-minute chart. Some short-term opportunities, but for a swing, this is where I want to be trading. And now for gold, well, gold's been interesting. It's a bit flat now. I do see this as just a counter trend move for gold. Of course, we've been so bullish for the past few months, and I would still keep that bias. However, things have of course shifted. We've had a really aggressive rejection on the day, on the week as well, and price has been falling for the past couple of weeks, I would say. So we're clearly not in this bullish phase anymore. We're in something else, and I would treat this as a counter trend move, a bigger pullback for us to eventually attack the highs at some later date. But what I would say now for gold, I do like short-term shorting opportunities. So let's say price can push back to this high here. Let's see if it can retest the high, maybe provide a nice wick through the level. That would be a really nice rejection, close back inside, and at least trade it to the counter trend line. I think that's a nice trade. You don't have to be looking for the home run on every single position. Some trades are just best to get in, get out. Of course, some trades you want to push, but you have to understand the conditions when it's right to do so and when it's right not to. I would say looking for a big swing to the downside for gold is just a little bit aggressive considering what the high time frames are doing. But nonetheless, still a very nice place to at least look for a short and look for rejection. So keep an eye on that. See what we do at this counter trend line. If we do get a strong break, perhaps we do push back to lows. And pretty much the same with silver as well. Silver's been a bit more bullish on the way up, but still quite corrective too. So I would suggest, again, if price does start to struggle at the highs here, comes back inside, I think that's a really nice place for a short. Again, I wouldn't be looking for such a big swing there for silver, considering what high time frames are doing. But at least the downside, you can probably get yourself a bearish day there. And then maybe once that happens, you can close or manage the trade a bit more aggressively. From a bullish standpoint, I would keep a very close attention to that high there. If that high breaks, especially aggressively, then I would say we're back in bullish mode for silver, and the idea would be pullbacks and more upside there as well. So keep an eye on this high. That's basically what's keeping us bearish. If that was to break, I wouldn't be looking to sell the market anymore, and I'll be focused on pullback opportunities back most likely to its recent all-time high. So silver and gold both showing some nice downside opportunities, but I'll just keep it short term. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at for a lot of the USD markets, of course, gold and silver as well. Very bullish on the dollar, but need some pullbacks, of course, after the big moves from last week. CS, yeah, that's basically the same idea as myself, looking at possible pullbacks. I'll go over the zones I'm looking at. What's up, Usmain? I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Yes, I am still here. Yes, we can look at dollar CAD, no problem. Dollar yen possible breakout. I'm definitely keeping a close eye on dollar yen. Actually, dollar yen is probably my favorite pair to the upside at the moment because USD is quite strong. We've just broken through some key resistance on the daily. As long as we can stay above that, I'm expecting price to continue. And of course, yen's quite weak as well. Pretty much all yen pairs are trending higher. So that one is quite set up actually quite well for a lot more upside. Yes, we could take a look at the Japanese index as well. Thanks, Aussie yen seems to be a good short. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the yen pairs will have similar reactions. But to be honest, I haven't tested that exact correlation thoroughly, so I won't be able to say how good of it is. But of course, if that's what you find in your own research, then that's something definitely to take advantage of. Good morning, Rodrigo. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Mercy, selling pound everything. Yes, I agree with that, but we need some pullbacks because the pound's already sold off for 2 weeks. So it's kind of like the moves kind of happened. Of course, pound can continue selling, but I don't want to be selling right at the lows here where pullbacks are more likely now. Anywho, let's go through DXY quickly, then we'll go through dollar CAD and we'll go through some yen pairs as well, especially dollar yen 2. Pound yen dollar CHF, yes, we could take a look as well. So we'll start with that DXY zone. So for the dollar, like I said, the bias is pointing to the upside. So as a result, you need to find areas where you're going to buy the market. You don't want to just be buying because you're bullish. You want to make sure you're waiting for healthy areas to pick up some longs. And I would suggest this area looks good. You can see really strong push. We paused here, another strong breakout. We haven't come back to retest the level since breaking through it. So that for me is a nice area to keep an eye on. We've just got to take it up the highs here as well. So perhaps we're a bit more prone to pullbacks as well. We're looking a little bit tight, I would say. Of course, it was a strong close, the last 4 hour candle, but it's not like we're still seeing aggressive bullish momentum. So I would still say USD is likely to see a pullback in the next couple of days or so, and I quite like this zone here. As long as price doesn't take out this swing, I would keep that bullish bias, and of course keeping a very close eye on that daily level to our left, which is trading around 100.25, I would say. That's going to be the main focus this week for the dollar. Can we break through that? Do we respect it? That will be a key level to keep in mind. But that's really the zone I'm looking at. There could be some intraday opportunities if that's what you're looking at. Perhaps even the retest, the consolidation, but I wouldn't be looking for like a big swing here. You can see we spent a few 4-hour candles there moving sideways and a nice breakout. Of course, the retest of that could be a nice place for a buy, but I would suggest you drop into like a 15-minute chart for that break and retest and not looking to try and hold that trade for too long, because it's more, that trade is more so here and the now. You know, price is just taking out the highs. We're still seeing momentum. We could see maybe another bullish day. We are approaching some resistance, so be wary of that. But yeah, I would say this is the zone I'm mainly looking at for like a 4-hour swing. In terms of the yen pairs, like I said, dollar yen would be my favorite, just because we potentially got one of the stronger currencies against one of the weaker ones. So on paper, that should mean more upside for dollar yen. At the moment, it looks like we're stuck right now, kind of consolidating here. So I would be a bit patient in terms of entries. I did suggest, again on the weekly analysis, that this would be the zone I'd keep a close eye on. If price can come back to retest that level anywhere between 153 and 151,700, I would say that looks like a really nice place for a long. And in terms of targets, the thing about dollar yen, it's got a lot of room to maneuver into. Actually, if I quickly touch on the yen basket, then we'll now refer to the higher time frames on dollar yen. But the yen basket is kind of the market I'm looking at to gauge the yen and also how much room you've got to move into. The yen basket, which of course is the yen against other major currencies, so Aussie, CAD, pound, euro, etc. This has been falling. I mean, the data we have access to, at least from this market, only takes us to May 2019, but since May 2019 the market has been continuously falling, and recently we've also broken through that support there as well, pretty convincingly too. So I don't see much stopping the yen from falling back to this level here, which is 53.90. So that means we could be seeing a lot more yen strength between here and there, and that could take us a few weeks, could take us potentially a few months. So the trend on the yen pairs looks still to be intact, unless maybe we have a really aggressive push back inside that low. Then I would be a bit more patient and maybe even change bias, but at least be a bit more patient. But as long as we stay below that, I just see the yen continue to fall. So that means more yen weakness. And if you look at the dollar yen, if you look at to try and gauge how far we can push, well, where's the next big level for dollar yen? I would say the next big level would be here, 157.940, and then the one after that would be 161. So those are the kind of the long-term targets I'm looking at for dollar yen. Of course, I probably wouldn't look to try and hold a trade that far. Maybe if a trade does go well, you can always leave small positions to run, but it's nice to know that we still got a lot of room to push into. So either if you're intraday or looking at swing, the idea is just buy the dips really. So in dollar yen's case, as long as we maintain these higher highs and higher lows, I'm looking for us to continue to retest that zone and then continue a lot higher. This here is our range at 152.8. As long as we don't snap that low, we're very, very bullish. There could be a situation if the market is very bullish this week where we just break outside this range here. If that's the case, then again, similar to the DXY, you're kind of looking for the retest of that range and then more upside. But again, I wouldn't be looking for a massive push here. The market's quite overextended. It's taken out that high as well. It's more so, okay, we're quite bullish, we'll find a dip and maybe trade it for a day or two and then look to lock in some gains. Of course, nothing wrong trying to leave a winner, especially in trending conditions. You never know how far the move could go, but the bulk of the position, you do want to take that off pretty soon afterwards. So with dollar yen looking that bullish, if we have a look at some of the other yen pairs, I'll take a look at pound yen. Now, pound yen is still very much a yen pair I'm very much looking to trade. I did miss this opportunity last week. I mean, the reason for that is because we did have the Fed interest rate pretty much an hour after that entry did set up. So I didn't want to take the trade knowing that I was just basically going to trade directly into the news. I said I'll rather wait till the following morning to enter it, but of course the news happened. It pushed it in its favor, and it kind of went a bit too far for me to find any entries from that support level. So I'm waiting to see if price can come back to the support level to then hopefully find some new entries. So around 200.6, if you just take that over to the next week, if we can see a push down, I would be very grateful for some entries here. Not only is it a great place for an entry, it's a great place for a stop loss as well underneath the lows, because despite pound yen being in an uptrend, the past maybe 2-3 weeks we have been quite flat. And I did get a buy here a couple of weeks ago. We pushed back into resistance, then price didn't break through. I mean, it did slightly break through, but not enough to really pull away. It came back down. So essentially I just want to pick up the longs again at that same support level, put some stops underneath, at least trade it back to highs, lock in some gains there. And if we're lucky, maybe the trend does continue and we see a big move. So pound yen looks really bullish. Not really prepared to trade inside the area here, inside the range. That's where the most noise is for me. I want to make sure I'm kind of away from all of that chaos and uncertainty. Focus more so on the extremes, 200.5, and then we'll see what we can get from there. There could even be some sells at the highs here, but yeah, because high time frames are pointing up, I'd rather just focus on the longs for now. What's up, Yusuf? Good morning. Hope you're doing good. Let me answer some questions. Okay, Aussie and New Zealand yen short tends to be great. Yeah, I mean, they are very, very similar markets, to be honest. How often do I see pound rise? Oh. Okay, so how often do I see pound rise while euro goes down against CHF or USD? Again, if you're talking like stats, I haven't collected that data, so I would never tell you. But in terms of off the top of my head, it really depends what's going on with fundamentally pound or fundamentally euro. Normally euro CHF and pound CHF, or pound USD and euro USD, 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10 are heading the same direction. Maybe pound has some like inflation news like it did a couple of weeks back, which is why it was so bearish. And we weren't really seeing euro CHF do the same. So there will be times like that, but most of the time, pound CHF, euro CHF, I mean, pound, euro, anything, most of the time moves the same. I mean, if you look at euro pound, it's a pair that does consolidate quite a lot of the time. So, you know, pound and euro, their relative strength is quite similar. So yeah, the correlation is most of the time pretty good. DXY seems to be tired and pullback. Isn't it a good time to buy GJ now short term? I mean, I wouldn't really put that, I wouldn't put 2 and 2 together like that, CS. I understand there is some correlation between the dollar and a pair like pound yen. But if I'm looking for opportunities on the DXY, it's always going to be around USD currency pairs. I wouldn't be like, okay, DXY looks tired, so let me try and buy pound yen. It's not really like a concrete enough correlation in my opinion. So I wouldn't say there's no opportunity, but I would say it's not an opportunity which I would look for. And again, with myself and how I trade, location is very, very important. So it's not like, okay, DXY is doing this, let me quickly try and buy this. I need to make sure that the market I'm trying to buy or sell is actually trading at a really good location for me to actually take those buys. And then if the DXY is doing something which agrees with it, great. That's a good sign of correlation or confidence. Okay, I can see, Mark, you like a bit of correlation, don't you? Focusing a lot on how pairs move together. Yes, true. I mean, of course, CHF has been pretty much the strongest currency for at least like a month or two now. So CHF JPY has been a better buy than Euro Yen. But again, with the yen pairs, they do tend to move the same way. If Swiss does keep up its strength, then you could expect a bigger move on Swiss yen. But I'm just looking to pick whichever currency provides the better technical setup. Because the thing with Swiss yen's been so bullish, it's kind of far away from a decent support level. I mean, that could change this week, but the area which I want to buy is down here. And because price has been so bullish, it might just hold on to this low and continue. So yeah, that's just the dilemma when the market is very, very bullish. Great, especially if you're intraday, you can buy the dips. But if you're looking for a swing trade, you need price to swing back down before you can pick up the next swing, of course. Yusuf, good morning, man. I hope you're doing good. Welcome to the stream. Yes, I did have a good weekend. Thank you. Hope your weekend was good as well. What's up, Dimar? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Good morning, good afternoon. Yusuf, yes, I can take a look at EURG on the 15 for you, no problem. If I have missed out any recommendations, let me know. Oh yeah, dollar CAD. I'll take a look at dollar CAD. Yeah, I'll go through dollar CAD and I'll go through some pairs. I'll go through the rest of the yen pairs and I'll go through my watch list as well for the week. But I'll go through dollar CAD first. So in terms of USD CAD, so yeah, this one's looking pretty bullish as well. Of course, another USD currency pair, and I'm pretty bullish on the dollar, so I'm expecting that theme to be present pretty much through all the USD crosses here. Of course, some pairs will be better to trade than others. But dollar CAD's looking pretty bullish here. It is a bit more on the corrective side of things. I wouldn't say it's the cleanest USD pair to trade right now, but there's quite clear sign of momentum kicking in now. It looks like we've broken out of this descending channel here, which we've been in for the past 2-3 weeks, and looks like we're starting to pick up some momentum. So as I said last week, because if this is going to be the break of that channel, if we are going to see price pick up momentum, we should be seeing quick pullbacks and continuations. We shouldn't start to consolidate or start to see any really meaningful bearish momentum kick back in. We should keep up that momentum. And we formed a high, a low, new high, a low. And again, this morning, looks like price is creating new highs. So as long as we can hold this zone here, that would keep me bullish for dollar yen. So again, looking for another pullback, especially intraday. Then you're looking for the next wave targets back at the swing high 1.407 or 408. Of course, keep in mind some highs here to the left. There's some meaningful areas you can book some partials or trade a stop or something of that nature, but everything is looking really bullish here for dollar CAD. So more upside as long as we maintain those higher lows. Looking very, very bullish. So as for euro on the 15 and pound on the 15, again, because we've had pretty big drops for them, I'm looking for bigger pullbacks. But of course on the 15, you can look for some short-term sells whilst the momentum is still down. And then when that bigger pullback comes into play, you can back away, maybe even look for some counter trend opportunities before looking to set it back down again. So on the 15-minute chart, I still do like what I'm seeing. Strong move down, pullback, lower high, another strong move down, pullback, lower high, a lot of consolidation, another strong move down, pullback, a lower high, another consolidation, strong move down again. So the pattern's very much in full flow right now. So as long as price doesn't break through this resistance here, if it does, then I'd say, okay, maybe we'll go into counter trend mode. If we can stay below that, the shorts still look good on the 15. There's two areas I'd keep an eye on. The break and retest of this level, of course the prior low, and I've also keep an eye on this area here, push back into that resistance supply zone there. So those are two areas to keep an eye for some shorts. And in terms of targets and managing the trade, because we are a little bit overextended, yes, I understand the market is very bearish, so you do have that on your side, but equally, we are starting to lose momentum, and I wouldn't be looking for like a home run. I would say if we can get a pull back into this level, the first obvious target would be a push back into the low, and then that will be a smart place to take some profits, partials. There's nothing wrong with looking for a bigger trade and leaving positions to see if you can get some big winners. But I would say in terms of management, if you do that every time in not the best locations, you're going to see your profits diminish a lot of the time. So because of this, I would make sure I take profits at the lows there, but then of course maybe leave a little bit to run. Same with the supply zone resistance there as well. Looking for a retest, strong rejection, push back into the low, and then being a bit more careful with the management. And then if price does take out this level here, I would call it a day with the sells, and perhaps we're going to see that bigger pullback I was referring to on the 4-hour chart, which is around the 1.158, 1.16 level there. So yeah, 50-minute Yusuf, I would be pretty bearish on euro, looking for those levels retest and then some more downside. If I look at pound USD as well, that is still the same case. I would say pound's looking a lot more correct now. So euro for me is the better short because we're still seeing momentum in euro. Pound, you can see every time we do take out a low, price quickly recovers that. Takes out a low, price quickly recovers that. So it's a sign that we're starting to dry up and fatigue, and maybe the trend is potentially coming to an end, or at least a brief pause anyway. And of course, if you're looking to follow the trend, you do want the trend to still be healthy whilst you're still looking for entries. If the trend looks like it's starting to tire, market's not really taking out highs well, maybe forming double tops, double bottoms, then that is a sign maybe to relax shorting the trend or buying the trend, because of course it's clearly slowing down. That's the case we have with pound USD. Euro, on the other hand, still seeing a pretty clear trend. So pound USD, I would suggest, because of how corrected we are, if you're still looking for shorts, I do like the highs here. If price can push back into resistance there, you might be able to find a nice rejection if you can snap back in. But again, I wouldn't probably look to try and push this to lows. I would say, can I get a push back into support here? Great, lock in some gains, and then leave a small amount to that low, just because I can see we're tired, and I do think this will be happening shortly. Of course, the market is bearish, and maybe we do fall another 200 pips. We can't tell. We can only look at the information we're dealt with. And if a market is tired, I'm not going to bet on that to continue, even though there's a chance it might. I always bet on the more likely outcome. So yeah, pound USD, I like the highs here. You're waiting for a deep retracement before selling, so you get your stop loss in a smart place. A push back into support there makes sense to me. Then maybe for a little bit extra back to the low. But euro is a more aggressive one, so I'll be more confident for push back to lows there. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at there for euro. And if I quickly go through the rest of the yen pairs, then we'll go through my watch list. So I had a look at pound yen, we had a look at Swiss yen, we had a look at dollar yen. So in terms of euro yen, very bullish on this one as well, keeping a close eye. I would say this is my more preferred swing area. This is the swing after this high. This is the new low, and this gave us a new high. So well and truly, that would be my more preferred area to buy from, especially if I'm looking for like a trade for the week or even 2 or 3 weeks. This could be an area to keep a close eye on. The market's being more consistent now with these higher highs and higher lows. Perhaps we do bounce here and we do see another higher low form. We've also got this nice trend line acting as support there too. So I would suggest keep an eye around 177.400, 177.2. If we can see some rejection there, that looks like a smart buy. If I drop to the hourly, of course, that was a very bearish candle this morning, so I do want to see some rejection coming to play, wicks to the downside, meaningful momentum from the buyers kicking back in to show me that, okay, yeah, support is holding here and we're likely to push, because that was a pretty aggressive bearish candle there. So in terms of location, you've got 2 areas to keep in mind, 177.4 and also 175.9. Depending how big the pullback is, I do think we'll see more upside likely to see more upside. So Euro yen still looks pretty good. Aussie yen and New Zealand yen, they've been a bit more flat. Aussie yen not so much. New Zealand yen much more, has been very, very flat. So I'm not really considering buying New Zealand yen. Aussie yen, of course, we're trading at highs as well, so this is not the best place to be looking to buy. I mean, I have been saying I'm expecting the yen pairs to trend higher, and I am, but Aussie yen is one of them where it's just not quite looking great, good enough for me to be looking for trades. Again, it's all about taking, if you think the yen pair is going to go up, the plan is to find the better yen pair to trade rather than try and trade all of the crosses. Of course, some will do well, some not so much, but there is a chance that maybe the yen pairs don't go up, but you were wrong with that bias, then you're kind of stuck with all those pairs going against you. So I would say Aussie yen not looking as great, especially trading to resistance. I don't want to be buying into that level, and especially with this zone on the kind of daily weekly chart, I don't think it's the best place to be buying into that either. So despite my bias being bullish, I just don't think we're in the best location for a long. New Zealand yen, basically the same situation. We've got a range here, equal highs, equal lows. Price hasn't gone anywhere for a while. If you want to look for longs, this is the best place for it. If you want to look for sells, this is the best place for it. And because I'm bullish, I'm either waiting for a push down here, or I'm waiting for price to break the high convincingly, and hopefully that could trigger some type of trend to fall, and we can see more upside from then onwards. But as of now, we're still stuck within the range. I don't think these are the best conditions for a trade. CAD yen, not looking that bad, has picked up some nice momentum at the end of last week, just about taking out the high here as well. I'd say the buys do look a little bit better with CAD yen because we've seen a more significant break, and it's quite a similar setup to dollar yen as well, looking for the pullback into this zone. And if you can find support there, I do think we can continue. I don't want to see CAD yen break that low. If it does break that low, I'm going to have to be a bit more careful with that bias. I wouldn't flip the bias, but I would maybe just stay on the sidelines if that's the case. But for now, still looking pretty bullish. I like the zone here, and I do think we can respect that and go into attack highs. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the yen pairs. We spoke about dollar yen, Swiss, euro, pound, Aussie, New Zealand, CAD as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the yen pairs. Pretty much bullish bias in all of them, but I would say dollar yen looks the better one. Pound yen, if you can get to lows, looks good. Euro yen and Swiss yen look good as well. Okay, so no problem, Yusuf. Happy to help. Yes, LFTJ, we could take a look at Euro Swiss as well. First, I'll go through my kind of top 3 pairs for this week that I'm interested in, and then I'll go through some of the crosses. So CHF pairs, some other pound Aussies, Euro pounds. We'll take a look at those as well. Okay, so yeah, top 3 pairs for this week. I would suggest, because of what we've seen recently on the dollar and what we've seen recently on the yen, and on the pound as well, I would say dollar yen longs, if we can get that pullback to retest that zone, 152. Not too far away, so it's very much a doable move this week. Not 152, sorry, 152, 153, 152.5. If we can get pulled back to that zone, I think that looks like a great place for a buy. So very focused on dollar yen to the upside. Because of the USD strength we've seen, I very much like euro dollar to the downside. Really convincing momentum last week. So the plan now is looking for pullbacks back towards this zone here. So this is the area I'm looking for a pullback into. If we can get a retest of that zone, I'm looking now for price to drop. And the third one I'm looking at is one of the crosses, more minor currency pairs, but I really like the momentum we saw last week. Really convincing bearish momentum on pound Aussie. Aussie was a little bit stronger, pound was very, very weak. Of course, that's a recipe for disaster here for pound Aussie, and had a really convincing break to the downside, and of course broke through some lows as well. So I do expect to see more downside here now for pound Aussie, because the way I see it, we've had a long-term uptrend and we've had multiple attempts to try and continue this trend, but essentially price just keeps rejecting resistance or forming lower highs each time. And now that we're still breaking lows, now more convincingly, I do think now this trend has not necessarily come to an end, but is definitely stalling. So the more fruitful opportunities will probably be to the downside now. So in terms of long-term targets, keep an eye on this zone here. That kind of gave us a last big push. And of course the area before that as well. So 1.99, 1.98, 1.95, 1.94. But I do need to see a pretty big pullback, because when you do see big moves like that, it's very easy to start trying to chase them, but you do want price to retrace, relax, find the next resistance in the market, and then continue. And my eyes are very much focused on that prior low, 2.02433. Anywhere around that, I'm interested in. Of course, that setup could change as the week goes on, but for now, that's where my probability does lie. So, and again, these three setups are more swing as well. Maybe dollar yen, you can trade that intraday too, but euro downside, pound Aussie downside, more swing opportunities to keep in mind. So yeah, those are the three I would focus on quite a lot this this week. Okay, so yeah, we'll go through Euro Swiss for LFTJ. We'll take a look at Euro Pound for Rodrigo as well. CS. Okay. Exit all your sell positions, Euro Pound NZD. Highest point to the run pullback. I think that's good management, CS, because at the end of the day, if you're looking to see how far price can go, you want to make sure that you're leaving a small position in, especially if you're leaving your highest entries. That gives you the most buffer room, to be honest. But yeah, I would say the dollar looks really good, to be honest. So that could go pretty far, and you could see those crosses keep falling. Do you have targets for those trades, or are you just trying to see how far you can take them and just managing as you go? Anywho, we'll take a look at Euro Swiss. So Euro CHF, now not my favorite currency pair at the moment. I mean, it's very rarely is my favorite currency pair, but yeah, definitely not at the moment. So Euro Swiss, I've been talking about a push towards that low. I want to see price go and take out this low before looking to buy, because as you can see, if you look at the theme of the market, every time it does push down, it will create a new low, and then it will kind of rip back up really quickly. So the plan was, can we see another one of those patterns repeat, another push to the downside, aggressive move, find support, and then we start to see some upside pretty quickly. In this case, not quite yet. I mean, that pattern could still very much play. Just because we're looking, semi-bullish right now doesn't mean we can't still, get that move into that low. That still is something I'll keep an eye on, but of course, price at the moment is not really trading anywhere near it. So that's not really the focus, but we are starting to push back into some 4-hour zones to keep an eye on, especially if you're looking for some shorts around 0.932. Now, because Euro Swiss is just a big ranging market, it's not really a pair which I want to be doing too much business inside these areas. I want to be, focused at the edges when price is really flat. I don't want to be trying to find some entries in the middle and stop losses in the middle, because probability of my stops getting hit and just messy behavior and staying in trades, quite long without price doing anything is quite high in these conditions. All you have to do is just look at the recent history there for Euro Swiss. So I don't really fancy the location of where Euro Swiss is trading. As a result, I would very much stay away from this pair until we do get back to 0.92, or in fact push back to the highs here. Those are the two levels I see opportunities. I know this is the daily chart and it is quite far apart. If you're looking intraday, I wouldn't do too much here, to be honest. I would try and be in and out as quick as possible. And I understand we are seeing some momentum here for the past couple of weeks. So perhaps another push back into lows here could be a smart place for a buy. But I would be in and out of that situation. For example, if price can get here, reject well, enter the trade, stops below. If I see momentum picking up, good, stay in the trade, gets back to resistance, lock in some gains there. We could very much roll back over. If price breaks through, great, hold some positions, maybe start to trail. In a case where we get here and price just starts to move sideways, let's say if I take an entry and price just moving sideways, I'll probably just close that trade, to be honest, because we're not really seeing the conviction that you'd want to see off a retest. Like here, for example, really quick retest, market's on its way. Quick retest, market's on its way. If it does start to consolidate, it's probably not the best sign. And especially with a market which is so choppy, and you're not really trading at, a real critical area of value either. So yeah, Euro Swiss, I would say keep an eye on 0.32, just not my favorite zone. Let me know what you're looking at on Euro Swiss, or what time frames you're interested in. If it's myself looking to trade it, especially from more of a swing bias, those are the two areas which I want to keep in mind. All of this is noise. Again, not to say that you can't find a winning trade, it's just I would suggest those conditions are harder to find one. We'll go take a look at Euro Pound next. Okay, TP 100.2 at resistance, okay. Breakthrough will hold through it as well, nice, okay, really try and take advantage of USD. But yeah, it looks like price is gunning for 100.2 right now. Anton, GBP is valuable. Are you saying it's valuable because it's fallen so much? I mean, I understand that because you'd expect price to, retrace, but my forecast tells me pound's probably still likely to keep falling, so I don't think it's that valuable just yet. But again, depends on how long you're looking to trade it for. What's up, Mateke? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. I'm doing good. Thank you. I'm doing good. Yes, we can take a look at oil, no problem. First, I'll go for Euro Pound, and then I'll take a look at oil for you. So yeah, in terms of Euro Pound, very bullish past week or two. Of course, like I said, pound has been struggling with the inflation, which came out a couple of weeks, so we saw a lot of weakness pound, and that just kind of continued since then, really. Euro, on the other hand, hasn't really been strong, but it's just stronger than pound, which is why we've got this kind of big breakout. So yeah, the thing is with Euro Pound, I never really trust breakouts like that. If it's like a yen pair, I can be a bit more optimistic with breakouts, expect them to continue just because of that trending nature the yen pairs do have, especially in recent months, years. Euro Pound, all they have to do is just look at the bigger picture, what price does. And yeah, every time we do break a level, we quickly come right back down inside of it. So yeah, I'm not going to really be super bullish with Euro Pound. Yes, the trend is up, but after taking out resistance here, my expectation with Euro Pound would be a push back inside this range. So I do think the better opportunity would be waiting for some shorts for Euro Pound, especially if we can push back underneath this high, because then of course this becomes resistance again. And if you can look for break and retest, I think that's a great place to position yourself short. Entries near enough that level, stops above the high, looking for a push back into lows there. I think that's a concrete opportunity there. If of course we do have a break and retest, fair enough, we could see price continue, but this is just not the best conditions for break and retest at all. Break and retest conditions, you want to see healthy trends, you want to see a market that does trend well and does continue moves. The break and retest just doesn't work really well here. Not to say it won't work at all, just on a bigger sample size. So if price can break back underneath the level, so basically turn this into a bit of a fake out and then looking for the retest of that level, I think that would be a much better opportunity. Then back to support, maybe further as well. So yeah, the bullish move hasn't interested me. If this is a legit breakout and price is going to continue, then I would want to see another higher high create another higher low. So if the market was, let's say, put a higher low here, it takes out the high here, then I'll be more sold on this breakout, because now I'm seeing structure being printed and new highs. So then I would, we can pull back, even perhaps maybe look for break and retest for a continuation. That's the criteria I would say if you are going to look to follow this momentum. I want to see a new high and a new higher low. If not, and we break back underneath, yeah, it's most likely a fake out for us to fall. So yeah, in terms of oil, so oil's been interesting. Of course, we came back into a really big level at 62, or just, yeah, around 62. Respected it pretty well last week, did see some downside. Didn't really take off though. That's the thing with oil. You can see here mostly, well, we did have the push down, the price did start to consolidate, and now it looks like we're coming back into the level. So it's basically the same situation as a couple of weeks ago. Let's now start monitoring what price does at that resistance. Does price respect it? Does price break through? Well, that will help shape the bias, because for oil, if I quickly go back to the daily chart, I don't want to see price break above 62. If it does break above 62, I wouldn't necessarily be bullish, but I wouldn't be bearish anymore, because the whole point of oil in this bearish structure is that we're consistent with these lower lows and lower highs, which of course has kept oil moving down. If we do start to break back above support, back above resistance, yeah, that's a sign that the sellers aren't as strong as they once were, and perhaps maybe price is going to see a bigger push higher. So if you do break above 62, I would pause that bearish bias. If anything, there might even be some nice buys. So let's say if price can recover this level well, let's say see a nice strong daily closure back above, then yeah, we could very much retest this and continue a lot higher. So I would be very careful around 62. So yeah, I mean, at the moment, not seeing much information in terms of like the next trade. Basically, I want to see what price does here, and that will help set my bias for the next trade. But higher time frame still pointing down, so I am bearish. But we need to hold that 62 level. Let me know what you're looking at for oil as well. Okay, looking at gold buys around 39.11 to 40.40. Okay, we can have a look at that as well. I'm not quite there yet with buying gold. I need to see price break through some more highs first before I truly consider that. I'm actually looking for some short-term downside around 40, so just basically above your targets. So if the market can run into these highs here, reject well, I do think that's a nice place for a short. More like a trade for the here and now, not necessarily like a swing all the way back to the lows here. Because the thing with shorting gold, especially in this situation, is that you're always up against it a little bit. So if you're going to take a short, be prepared to walk away from that trade quickly, if momentum isn't really picking up. With the buys in this situation, you are going against momentum, but you do have that higher time frame backing in your favor. That, okay, you know that, okay, price eventually is going to find support and is going to start pushing to the upside. With looking for buys in this condition, especially, okay, we are starting to form higher lows. Maybe this is another one. Maybe we can go and push back to resistance here, and maybe even further as well. So there's some logic there, but it's a very corrective move. It's not like price is aggressively pushing. So I would suggest targets around 40.40, as you mentioned. Makes sense. You're just trading it back to its recent high, not trying to be overly confident and overly optimistic on a target, just kind of being reasonable. A push back to the high makes sense, and of course having some protocols to manage it along the way. You said you're looking to long on 39.11. That would take you, okay, that's quite far down, 39.11. Okay, so you're looking to buy underneath the lows here to 1440. Interesting. I mean, that low there, I don't want to see that taken out if I'm looking to buy, because this is the low which gave us the high past this point here. So technically speaking, if price was to break through that, that would be not a good sign for the buyers, at least in my eyes anyway. If price was to break through that low, that kind of invalidates this swing. And at that point, I do think that swing will go. So buying at the lows here, especially if you can still hold, does make sense. But even with that, I wouldn't probably be as optimistic as a 40-40 there. I quite like the fact that we got this slight trend in play, and we could see another swing back to the highs. If it's a deep correction, breaking the counter trend line, not to say that can't happen, of course, but yeah, I'm not as big of a fan on the 50-minute chart. Yeah, I'm not as big as a fan on that swing. If I'm looking to buy 39.11, I probably have targets like 39.40, 39.50, and be prepared to close around there. Because the way I see it, we've got all of this momentum going against us, and I'm trying to pick a low here, which looks pretty difficult to me. Again, I'm sure you've got your reasons for the long, but of course I'm just sharing my views on it. So I don't mind the buys there, because you're buying next to the low, but equally I wouldn't be looking for a push to 40-40 at that stage. Here, yeah, I can look for a push to 40-40 because we've got that momentum, even though it's not anything amazing, but there's some clear momentum there. So if that breaks, I would be very careful. What's up, Francis? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Just quickly, guys, if you haven't checked out our Perps platform yet, make sure you go do so. I have dropped the link at the top of the chat, and I'm pretty sure I've pinned it as well, so you can't miss it. This is the platform. If you haven't visited yet, I do have a video on my channel, one of the recent uploads, going through how to use the platform, how to use the AI feature as well. So if you're unfamiliar and you want some understanding and a bit more detail, I do recommend to go and check out those videos on the channel. But if you haven't traded perps before, it's fairly similar to trading CFDs. You're still kind of speculating on price. If price goes up, you make money. Price goes down, you lose. You do have the availability to connect your Solana or Ethereum wallet to the platform itself to trade directly from that. You can trade in demo or live environments as well. So if you don't want to trade live straight away, you can trade demo as well. As I said, we do have a very exciting AI feature which we are developing and still looking to further and continue, but it does provide support and resistance levels, sentiment analysis. It also provides actual tradable setups on the 4-hour chart as well. And at the moment, you've got a bunch of different cryptocurrencies you can trade, and recently we've added some indices as well, but other markets, FX, commodities, stocks even, we'll be looking to add that to the platform as well. So if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you to go and do so. Like I said, I have linked it at the top of the chat and I pinned it there so you can't miss it. But again, completely free to use and to check out. Just waking up again. I don't blame you. How the JPY trade is looking. I haven't taken any new positions yet. I mean, it's just the start of the week, so I tried to be a bit patient at the start of the week, because you kind of get a bit of noise, because you think about it, you've got the whole week to find a good trade, and typically at the start you're going to get that noise. Then maybe midweek price will come and test the support level, and then you probably get the move from the week from there onwards. So it does not always look like I'm trying to chase the move, so I try to kind of be a bit careful, more so at the start of the week. I still take trades, but I try to be a bit more picky. So with the yen pairs, I'm waiting for some bigger pullbacks for them. The plan very much is still looking to buy them, so nothing's changed. I still like pound yen a lot. I still like dollar yen a lot as well, but we need some pullbacks. And yeah, by 11 a.m. UTC time on Monday, haven't really seen much of a move yet on the yen pairs. I mean, some a bit more, but pound very, very flat. And this is where I'm looking for opportunities around 200.5. That's where I'm seeing the value in the market, because we have been range, we have been incredibly flat. I do want price to be at the edge of that, so I can place entries as low as possible, stop losses even lower, away from the noise, and then even that will even help my risk reward as well. So looking at buys there for pound yen, and looking at buys here for dollar yen as well. I'm very bullish on USD, so I like the relationship there. I thought you start to believe Mondays are trap days. Yeah, I mean, if you look about it, I mean, again, I got on the chart a weekly grid here. It's one of the indicators that I'm starting to use a lot more now. Well, it's not really an indicator. It just kind of just splits the week up, so you can see the previous weeks. But each one of these grids, I don't know if you guys can see it on the stream. Maybe if I make it a bit brighter. There. So yeah, each one of those grids represents, actually let me just make it white so you can't miss it. So each one of those grids represents a week's worth of price action, and it's quite interesting to see how price reacts within the week, because everything is cycles, to be honest, and price will go through different cycles. For example, maybe price will start the week off pretty bullish, then it'll find a high, then it'll come back down, maybe retest the support, then continue, or maybe just completely reverse and end up bearish. And you can kind of build a method behind that, especially if you're bullish for pound yen this week. Well, okay, let me try and find a support within the week to buy from. And you can see a lot of the start of the week is kind of just noise, and then you kind of get the move Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe price will start to pull back towards Friday. So yeah, typically Monday's not really the best day to trade. It depends on strategies, because other strategies you can find really good trades on Monday as well. But I like for price to kind of settle Monday, go and test support resistance Tuesday, Wednesday, and then hopefully from then onwards you see the move for the remainder of the week. Of course, not every week's going to be like that. Some weeks start off pretty bearish. For example, look here, bearish and just fell. But I would say the move kind of started the week prior, to be honest. So it's a good kind of way to see what's happening within the week, and you can kind of work your way backwards from there. Yusuf, Aussie CAD, GJ, UJ in the 15. Okay, yeah, we can go a bit more intraday. I'm on UJ, so we'll just start with that one on the 15. So in terms of the 15 here, it's looking really noisy. So yeah, I wouldn't touch this on the 15. You've got resistance there, support there, and prices in the middle of all of that. So yeah, for UJ in the 15, I'll leave it alone, especially if this was like, if I wasn't streaming and just looking at this myself, I would say, okay, price is in the middle of the range here. You can set alerts at the high and the low, so you can be notified when price does get to resistance or support. But trying to decode what price is doing right now, I think is just a losing battle, really, or just a battle not worth fighting. So I would just set alerts there and walk away, or just go to a different pair. So dollar yen really flat right now. Of course, if you look at the 4-hour chart, put things into context, you can see we had a really convincing uptrend last week, and I would bet on the continuation of that. So the bias for this week is pretty bullish. But I would suggest, if you're looking to trade in the 15, you kind of want to see like a strong 4-hour close above this, and that will give you the green light to actually start looking for pullbacks in the 15 to buy, because then you've got a very considerable break of that structure, hopefully with a lot of impulse momentum, and then you're just looking for pullbacks, buying the dips, taking it back to its relative high, and so on and so forth. Of course, in terms of targets, it's a bit difficult here in dollar yen, because you can't really look to the left, because we haven't been trading at these prices for quite some time, since Feb 2025. So especially in the 15, you're probably not going to look that far back for a target. So I'll probably just keep it simple with some round numbers. So push to 155.5. I'll say is the next big target. Actually, no, 155. Sorry, 155 is the next big target. Then 155.5 beyond that. But yeah, dollar yen, very bullish. It's very flat right now. But of course, the bigger trend is pretty bullish. So looking basically for that to continue, but not inside the range. So not much to speak about there. And GJ, definitely not much to speak about there on the 15. I think all of this price action is just noise, to be honest. And I wouldn't want to get caught inside of this, really. I mean, this could just be a correction for price to potentially continue, but would I be happy to try and look for those continuation patterns, knowing that price is just inside this big range here? I don't think that's a sensible idea, because the whole point of a continuation pattern, like a flag pattern, is to represent, okay, there's a lot of momentum in the market, now expect that momentum to continue. Yes, recently there has been momentum, but you trade inside a range, which is basically the opposite of that. Range represents noise, indecision. So you kind of got conflicting patterns at play. From my experience, flag patterns, break and retest patterns work well when you see a big move in one direction, price as a breather, and you're expecting that move to happen, especially in trending conditions. It doesn't make sense here. Not to say that it won't play out, it's just not optimal. So that's for that reason is why I'm focusing on trying to find an entry lower down around this level here to take some buys. So 15, again, I would leave it alone. I mean, I suppose if we can see momentum pick up and maybe see some higher highs and higher lows, it wouldn't be the worst trade in the world to look for some pullbacks of that move. I know we're still in the range, but you can probably get away with that, especially if momentum really picks up. But again, I just don't think it's the best conditions on the 15 there. And in terms of Aussie CAD on the 15, this one's a bit better. I mean, still within the range, but I like the way price has recently broken out of this smaller range here and had a pretty successful break and retest of that zone. So as you can see, sideways, 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 eventually a breakout, the retest over there, and momentum's very much stepped up there. So to me, it looks like price is likely to go and test that resistance there, around 0.92128, and supporting that, you do have these higher lows prices be making as well. So this is, again, not the best conditions on the higher time frames, but because you're on the 15, you're not trying to hold the trade for too long, so you can get away with it. So again, a pullback, a retest of the high here looks good. I would say around 0.91920, and you've got some pretty clear targets back to the high there on your left, 0.92128. So yeah, I don't mind Aussie CAD. There's a clear direction to this one. Momentum's picking up, especially if you can drop to a 15. You're only looking for a small piece of the cake there. You're not looking for huge moves from the 15, so you don't have to worry too much about staying in the market for too long, because in a range, the longer you're in the range, the more uncertainty you have. If you're looking for like a short-term move, you can get away with that, because the longer price stays in the range, the more fluctuation, the more kind of noise there is. If you're just in and out very quickly, you can take advantage of those more micro moves. So you have that advantage in the 15. But I would suggest if you do take a trade and it does start to go sideways, you're not really seeing that momentum, probably get out of that, because that's a big red flag. So yeah, hopefully that made sense on those pairs in the 15. CS, GJ current price is a bit risky. I agree. I don't like what I'm seeing. I mean, it's not like I dislike what I'm seeing. It's just not doing anything which will motivate me to take a position. Again, a big part of entries is location, because there's basically two ways to try and enter the market. You're either entering because price is really low or really high, or you're entering because there's a lot of momentum in the market, and then you're betting that momentum to continue more. So for example, markets trended very well, it's very high, but you're expecting to go higher, so you're buying high to sell higher. You're either doing one of those two things essentially, either buying low, selling high, so basically taking advantage of markets that have gone too far and you're looking for them to snap back in, or you're taking advantage of a market that's moving rapidly. At the moment, pound yen is not doing either one of those situations. It's not really trending very well, so it's not like, okay, I want to buy pullbacks really aggressively here. And it is ranging, but it's not trading at the low or the high of the range, so it's just, for me, awkward. So yeah, I'd be very patient with pound yen. I think there's a lot of opportunity with this one, but just not right now. Euro, pound, and NZD. Okay, are you talking about? Oh, okay, versus USD. Okay. Yeah, Euro and pound. I'm actually quite interested in. No problem, Yusuf. Happy to help. So yeah, Euro and pound. I'm actually quite interested. I need some pullbacks for both of them, but I do think they're still likely to continue a lot lower, especially if I drop to or scale to the higher time frames. You can see where we're kind of positioned here. Euro, back into a big area of supply here. This is actually what gave us our last big swing in 2022. Price is now back at that zone and somewhat rejecting pretty well. I do think we can continue lower. I'm not necessarily predicting this, but I do think we can see at least a bearish move here on the month. And pound USD is in a similar situation too. Really corrective move, failing at the highs here, coming back into, again, this zone, which gave us, again, that big drop in 2022. Not really working too well. Pretty strong close in the month there for October. We're probably still likely to drop there. So pound USD and Euro USD long term look bearish. So as a swing opportunity, if we can just see a decent pullback, in my opinion, there's a lot of room to the downside. So regarding pound USD, because of where we're trading, we've just taken out this low here. I don't really want to be shorting at these prices, especially when we are looking really tired as well. So I do want to see some upside for pound. I'm at least looking for a push to retest this low here. Oh, didn't mean to do that. So yeah, I'm at least looking for a retest of this low here, which is 1.32500. If price can make a way back into that zone, I'm expecting price to completely fall. Of course, I have to find entries and a good stop loss before jumping to the trade, but on paper, that's what I'm looking for. Basically, as long as price doesn't take out this high, I'm bearish. We could even pull back into this zone here, and I'll still be looking for the same trade. But take out that, yeah, I will lose that that bias. And for Euro, I just saw gold on the chat, made me think of silver. Yes, Kelvin, we can take a look at gold. Let me just take a look at Euro and NZD, but I will have a look at gold for you. Yusuf. Okay, you're looking for the retest of the range, but didn't get it. Yeah, I mean, again, entries are... Yeah, entries, you want to keep them kind of systematic as possible, because you don't want to overthink it with entries, because entries is just getting into the market. How you exit and manage is arguably a little bit more important, to be fair, because that would define your P&L on that trade itself. So entries you want to keep simple, just have something that will at least show that price is going in your favor. Like I use a lot of bullish engulfing patterns. I like wicks as well, especially when they're company together. And just keep it that simple, and make sure you're entering at the right places. But of course, with that said, there will be times where you just don't see that form and you don't get an entry, and that's just part of the package, to be honest. And sometimes the fact they don't get an entry actually protects you from taking an unnecessary loss as well. Because again, you're not here to catch every move, you're just here to catch the better opportunities. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. What's up, Tosh? Hope you're doing good. EuroCAD, yeah, we'll add that to the list as well. Morning, UD. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Silver, the DAX. Yes, we shall go through those two as well. Antonio, good morning. Hope you're doing good. Okay, yeah, I can give you more information about that. You're talking about the AI on the platform for the Perch platform. I do have a video on my channel where I did break down the AI and how it works and how to use it as well. So if you go to my channel, I'll point out the video for you. So if you go to my channel, one moment. So yeah, if you go to my channel and go to the video that says introducing Miko AI. So yeah, give that a watch, and if you have any other questions, you can even message me on Instagram, to be honest. No problem, no problem. Okay, so what pairs I was going to go through again. So yeah, we'll take a look at Euro, Dollar, New Zealand Dollar, Euro CAD, Silver, the DAX as well. A bunch of pairs. And of course, if anyone has any recommendation, any pairs you're looking at, any trades you want to share, drop in the chat too. And if you guys are enjoying the stream, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, share with your friends. It does really help out. So yeah, in terms of Euro USD, it's actually probably my more favored USD pair right now. I actually like it a bit more than pound, because pound's already had a big drop. So I see more opportunity with Euro USD, especially when you've got two similar markets and one's already had a big move. Well, I'd prefer to trade the one that hasn't had the big move yet, because I expect that to be in the pipeline soon. So with Euro, I mean, it's had a decent move, but just not as big as pound. So I do expect Euro to catch up. I like this zone here around 1.16, just basically looking for a pullback there. I would suggest that after the price has taken out this low, we are looking fairly tired here. So I wouldn't really be looking to try and short Euro right now. I think the trade's already done it, run its course. Of course, maybe you can go a little bit lower, but that's not for me to find out. So I'm looking for a pullback into the zone here. I do like that low around 1.14, and that's where I do see price heading towards longer in the longer term. So it's just about pullbacks into that zone, hopefully some more downside. So yeah, Euro looks really good, pound looks good. Pound need that pullback, Euro need the pullback as well. Just keeping things really simple. As long as you maintain these lower lows and lower highs, that sets the direction. And then hopefully we can get that extended push. In terms of New Zealand Dollar, this one I actually do have a setup I actually am interested in. It's just, I think it's quite highly unlikely price actually materializes that setup, at least for this week anyway. Maybe it does in the next 2-3 weeks if it is going to push up. But I like the shorts. Again, if I zoom out, look at the daily chart, you can see we have a super consistent bearish trend here. Lower lows, lower highs, pretty consistent down move. But of course, if I'm looking to short, I don't want to be shorting down here. It's a little bit too low. I need price to be up at resistance, away from support, and that would be here. So it would be nice to see price take out this high, respect it, and then look for the drop. That's where I really want to position myself short and put stop losses above. So ideally a pushback to 0.58, and I can look for a push down. I mean, in terms of my bias, it is bearish to this low. So if you're looking for shorts, I think you'll be in the right direction. In terms of timing the shorts, especially from a swing bias, this is the zone that looks good. If I was to drop like intraday, like 15-minute, let's say hourly actually, we've got a bit of a consolidation here. If price can break through that well, then yeah, you could look for a retest of that for some more downside. Maybe a push back to the low here. I wouldn't be too greedy with the shorts because we've already had a big move. I wouldn't try and overstay on my welcome, but that could be a smart trade. And of course, the likeliness of that trade forming is a lot higher than that push to the high. Okay, so we'll look at EuroCAD, Silver and DAX next as well. UD, okay, you in pound CAD buys. Interesting. Is my bias right? Again, UD, if I knew that, I would be able to predict every single move of the market. I can show you my bias, which of course could potentially be wrong as well. And of course I'll explain why I have that bias too. But again, bias is quite fickle as well, because a market could be falling and you could have a bullish bias and still walk away with a profitable trade if you time it well and you exit well. And the market might continue to fall after that. So bias is not necessarily that important. So the fact that you have a bullish bias doesn't really matter it's right or wrong, because if you're just looking for a small counter move, well then you're right to have that bias as well. You just need to make sure you're managing your expectations. For example, if the market's falling aggressively and you're looking for a complete reversal of that, probability is going to be not necessarily in your favor. But we'll go through pound CAD in detail. What's up, Bashi? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Appreciate the message. Yeah, guys, if you're enjoying the content, drop a like, subscribe, share. All that does really help out. Hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on any streams in the future. And of course, drop any chart recommendations, trades you want to share, requests in the chat, and we'll be happy to discuss. Okay, so well lit up today. I'm lit up today? I don't understand. Are you talking about the market or the stream, Bashi? Okay, so we'll go for EuroCAD and Silver and DAX. Okay, so EuroCAD, I'm actually leaning towards a bearish bias. I was talking a lot about this one on the weekly analysis. I do want to see a bit more downside before I do start looking for pullbacks, because we are still kind of trading at support here. So if the market does push up, it's more of a retest of support rather than like a big break of structure here. So I'm being cautious with EuroCAD, but to me this is a trend that looks like it's on its last legs, and perhaps it's getting ready to reverse. So if I am going to look for that move, that reversal, I do want to see some convincing moves in the opposite direction, hence a strong break of this support, and then yeah, I would bet on the continuation of that. So EuroCAD I am pretty bearish on, but yeah, at the moment still trading at support roughly, so not quite doing the business for me just yet. But let's say if we can get a strong break of that, well yeah, the shorts do look interesting after that, especially on the pullbacks back into that zone. I do think we can continue a lot further. So EuroCAD, I do have a short bias, not quite set up yet to actually start executing on that bias, but I am looking at more downside here. I'm not really interested in the buys, to be honest. So yeah, that's my take on EuroCAD. In terms of silver, so silver, I am looking at some shorts at the moment, as long as we can maintain this high. If price was to break through that high, then I would rethink that bias and potentially just shift to a bullish bias at that point, because then I'll be looking at like a big inverse head and shoulder pattern, which again represents a reversal there. So if price was to break to the upside like so, that would be more of a bullish signal. But let's say if price can respect this high, I'm looking to see if we can start to reject that resistance and start to roll back over. We've got 1, 2, looking for that third kind of drive higher, then hopefully a bit of a counter move back down. We've still got all that momentum from past 2-3 weeks. I do think we can still see a bit more downside from that. So I'm leaning towards a bearish bias for now for silver, but of course, if this goes, I will scrap that. So keep that in mind. I'm looking at something similar for gold too. And then of course, if that does happen, then you've got some break and retest ideas to look into, and a lot of room to the upside, back into this zone per se, and then maybe back to the all-time highs. In terms of the DAX, I haven't actually kept an eye on this one the past week. Okay, yeah, we're still in that range. So again, the DAX's conditions are not great. Yes, high time frames are very bullish, and we do expect eventually this to pick up momentum again and break the highs. But I'd be very careful with how looking to trade this one, especially with how stagnant we've been. You know, recently prices tried to break the highs, it failed miserably, it came back down. So would I be looking for any opportunities inside of here? No, not really. I think that's where the most of the noise and the chaos will be. Outside of this, sure, I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially if you can see a strong breakout, look for some pullbacks. I think that's where the opportunity does lie for the DAX there. Of course, more of a swing opportunity, but I think that's where you're going to be focusing for better trade opportunities. At the moment here, I suppose if you're looking for some more short-term trades, short the high, be in and be out sort of situation, I can understand that. But not a big fan of the DAX, to be honest. So yeah, not much help in the DAX just because conditions aren't great. I would avoid trading in the middle, but a strong break at the highs, sure. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Okay, so we'll take a look at pound CAD buys for UD. What rules were changed? Oh, from the lights. Yeah, it was, yeah. Because I was using the natural lighting from outside, and then I think the clouds went, and the sun was in full beam, so yeah, it did light up my face. But I've changed the settings on the camera, so that shouldn't happen again. I appreciate it, Francis. Yeah, drop a like, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Appreciate it. BTC Cole, yeah, we'll take a look at Bitcoin, no problem. We can go through a few of the cryptocurrencies. Interesting. They make traders trade with usual lots times 4 days, and after that they put more rules. Don't understand what that involves. Okay, yeah, pound CAD we'll take a look at next, and then we'll go through some cryptocurrencies. Okay, so we'll go through pound CAD. So yeah, you asked about your bias, if it was right or wrong. Like I said, bias is not necessarily right or wrong. Depends what your time horizon is and what you're looking for. Because especially in FX markets where we don't really trend anywhere in the long term, we're very flat. We don't really go anywhere. Direction is not necessarily that important. It's more so where you're buying and where you're selling. If it's like the S&P, for example, which has that long-term uptrend, then of course you want to be more so a buyer, and bias is going to matter a bit more. But in a market that does chop around, and in the long term it's pretty much break even, it's more so about where you're buying and selling than rather where the market's going to go. So if you do have a bullish bias, okay, where you're going to buy it, how long you're looking to hold it for, where's your targets, and what's the context of the market in that situation. That's what's important. So if you're bullish bias here, I think it does have merit, especially coming back into such a big zone there. We've got support to our left there, so I do think the bullish bias makes sense. Long term, I do think price is likely to keep falling, but with the bearish bias I have, I'm not looking to short until I see a pullback, into these areas, which are quite far away. So, with the bearish bias I have, I'll probably need to see a pretty big bullish swing first before I can actually take some shorts. So that's why I mean bias is not necessarily that important, because I'm bearish, but I probably need to see at least a 100 pip move for a pullback. So yeah, it's more so about what you're looking for. So yeah, pound CAD has tested support. What's your target UD? How far are you looking to take it? Because then I can be a bit more help. You know, price has had a really aggressive move down, but to be honest, we have started to find support. We have basically just consolidated here. So what I would suggest, if this is going to be support for pound CAD, and we are going to, start to push up again, we do want to see some strength from the buyers really start to pick up pace. Otherwise, if we kind of just stagnate, you know, this could turn into something like that as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. You do want to see momentum start to pick up. But I do like how price is forming support here and that consolidation. That's a good sign, especially after such a big move. So that's a good sign. But yeah, how far are you looking to take the trade? What's your targets? No way, you can hear the bird. They're very loud in the morning. They're not as loud right now. But yeah, most of the birds, 90% of the birds are singing some nice tunes. Okay, minimum 4 days. Okay. Now they're saying to trade 4 days, same risk. Oh, okay, you have to take the same risk. Oh, okay, so they basically want you to basically trade some more before you can do your 0.01 lot. Okay, I understand. Yeah. Supply area is your target. Okay, so you're looking to take it up there. Yeah, I would say keep an eye on that because it is a pretty big push, but I would say reading the conditions, you're in a good area to trade it. So I would probably have like a target before that, maybe 1.85 as like a median to either book profits, trade a stop loss. And then, yeah, that zone up there makes sense to target. So yeah, I don't mind that UD, makes sense. But I would say maybe have a target before that just for a bit of management. Okay, 4 days in what's in the first cycle. Yeah, not quite. You're gonna have to turn into one. Bashi. How's the CHF pairs looking? Okay, we can go through a bunch of them. They've been in some pullbacks, of course. Past like few months have been very bearish, but CHF has weakened a little bit, so they've all sprung back to life. I bet you don't need an alarm in the morning. Is it that loud? To be honest, I don't know. I feel like I can block it out because they do chirp into the night as well. It's not just the morning. They're around the clock, these birds. So you can't even use it as an alarm because it could literally be like 2 a.m. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the cryptocurrencies, and I'll quickly go through the CHF pairs as well. That could be your second channel there. Okay, so in terms of BTC, so we have been pretty mixed, to be honest. We've been bearish one week, bullish the other, bearish the next. So it's been up and down. Of course, that basically means we're ranging. Of course, if you look at the long-term bias, of course, BTC is still very much in that uptrend, but we have failed at highs on 3 occasions now. Price tried to, well, it did make a high on the 13th of July, Then it came back to respect the high on the 14th of August, so equal highs there. And then again, 6th of October. So 3 attempts to try and make new highs. And of course, that's when we had the big kind of meltdown and everyone was going crazy. So yeah, we've tried to continue and essentially we've pushed back down to the lows of the range now, and support for the most part is still holding. So BTC right now is just stuck in a range really. So if you're looking for opportunities, I would look for like quick intraday buy opportunities at this support level, because we've had about 4 or 5 tests of this level and it's held really well. So I would suggest keep looking to buy that as long as it holds. I wouldn't look for a long, like a swing trade for BTC, because we're just not really seeing that environment right now. Yes, it might be, it might swing from here, but I'd say, especially if you're looking to trade it, I think it's a good support to buy. Look to get out pretty quickly, to be honest. And if price breaks support, then we could be looking at a much bigger counter trend move for BTC, maybe back to 100k. Maybe even 90 if things get really doom and gloom. But I would say 100 is definitely a key area to keep in mind, back into that support level there. And like I said, we potentially go further. So BTC right now back at support. I would say again, especially if you're looking intraday, this could be a nice trade for the day. You know, back into some resistance above us. But I wouldn't try and take it further than that. And I'll give myself a bit of room with the stop loss as well, because we could whipsaw a bit, we could see some random wicks here and there, which could be enough to take out the position. So I'll give myself a bit more room, fairly quick trade back into resistance. Maybe you can leave a small position to run if you're trying to put yourself in the position just in case BTC does rally. I'm there for it as well, so I understand that, but we're just not in the best conditions for any long-term swing right now. And a lot of other cryptocurrencies in the same situation. Ethereum, which I actually prefer a little bit more, but again, pretty bearish on the day too, but you can see where we're trading into a lot of wicks here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wicks in this cluster here. So on paper, again, it's a good place for a buy, but Ethereum has been pushing down for the past 2-3 weeks. Not aggressively, but it has been making lower lows and lower highs on the daily chart. So again, from a trader's perspective, you have to take into consideration that information and not try and necessarily shoot for the moon just yet. I think a smart buy off support here around 36 makes good sense. Again, maybe a push back into this zone here, 38.90. You could probably even take some profit before that, I would suggest, especially if you aren't really seeing that momentum step in. Let's say if you do take a buy from this zone here and price reacts pretty well, momentum's working in your favor, great, hold on to that position. If you get into a buy and it starts to consolidate and it's taken 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 candles, hasn't really progressed, I'll get out that trade, because if you look at every prior attempt to break support here, it wicks into the level up, wicks into the level up, wicks into the level up, wicks into the level up. Here, closure into the level, but up straight away. So it's a theme of the market that it will come to test the zone and quickly react. If it doesn't quickly react, it's probably not going to hold, or at least your chances of a holding have gone down. So great support level for a buy. Same with BTC. But to be honest, with how things are looking, I wouldn't be surprised if we break through this at a later date. I think short-term buys, long-term be very, very patient with the ETH. And if you take a look at XRP as well, same situation there too. This is very flat. As I said in the weekly analysis, if you can get back to support around 2.24, I think that's a smart place for a buy. But again, just being super watchful on that trade, because we're more so trading ranges right now for the cryptocurrencies. They're not really trending anymore, like in their bullish environments. They're ranging. So I think the best way to trade them is buying as low as possible, taking your profits a bit quicker. Yes, you can leave positions to run, because you never know with them, they could just break out for whatever reason, and you wanna be in that trade, of course. But equally so, you have to be aware to the conditions, which are quite noisy right now and not really seeing clear direction. So yeah, those are the levels I'll keep in mind for the cryptocurrencies. Okay, so we'll go through a bunch of CHF currency pairs. We'll go through some CHF pairs. That's true, Bashi, that's true. Entry point, I'm not sure which pair you're mentioning. Tosh, Nasdaq, yes, we can have a look at the Nas, no problem. Okay, so we'll run quickly through the CHF currency pairs. Not really at the top of my watch list right now. The CHF pairs this week, a lot of them in some awkward situations, although I do like some long-term moves on them. They're just not quite here yet. So we spoke about Euro Swiss early in the stream. I basically said the price is in a big range, not really performing well. Again, in terms of opportunities, I want to be buying low, selling high, and we're just not low or high right now, so there's not much to do, especially on a daily chart. It's going to take time for us to get there, of course. So these are the areas I want to operate in. This is where I don't want to operate in, and of course that's where price is trading. So Euro Swiss, quick 30 seconds on that, and you can see there's not really much of a trade there. Not that there isn't a trade, just not a good one really. So yeah, moving on to the next one. Pound CHF though, I do quite like, especially what we can do long term, because I'm still looking for a push into the wick here from 2022. I still think we are long term heading in that direction. So as a swing trade, I just want to be looking to take swings in that direction mostly. But we have broken through support here, but I wouldn't say it's the biggest or the best breakout you'll ever see. It looks quite tame and already looking quite tired. So I wouldn't be too surprised actually to see pound CHF break back inside this, and if it does do that, that could mean a lot more upside before we do continue down later on. So I'm being quite cautious with pound CHF. I am bearish long term, but equally so there might be some nice buys to take advantage of, especially if you do break back above this area, because that will turn support again, and this will be a massive fake out, and I do think we can see some upside from there onwards. So am I still looking to keep selling pound CHF here? No, the trend looks really fatigued right now. Like I said, I'm long-term bearish, but at the end of the day, I still want to take a good trade. The long-term bearish bias helps like an added confluence or as a filter, but still it does matter on my execution time frame if the setup's looking good. And pound CHF is not. This looks like a really tired bearish market right now. I'm not interested in selling this more. And in terms of the buys, as I said, if we do break back above support, I think that's a decent buy to look into. We'll see how price does it, if it's impulsive, if it holds support after. We'll monitor that as the week progresses. But I think on paper that looks like a good opportunity. In terms of the other CHF pairs, Aussie Swiss, I'm pretty bearish on. I'm looking at a lot more downside for that pair, currency pair. Still looking for a push here. I do want price to respect the highs here. I don't want us to break through them, or at least have a sustained break. I don't mind if price kind of like breaks above slightly and snaps back in. If anything, that's actually a really nice setup if price can do that. I don't want to see price break above, stay above, and start to see some new highs. That could mean that we are pushing back here again, which is 0.545, which is quite far away. So this level is going to be very interesting. Key level on the daily chart, and a key level keeping us bearish. Of course, we did get this last bearish move from there, so it's quite important we do hold that. If we break above, could be looking at some short-term buys or shorter-term buys back into the high there. So pretty significant we hold that level. New Zealand CHF has had a pretty strong move as well. Again, it looks like we're kind of tiring in this bearish trend here. We haven't necessarily broken structure yet, so I wouldn't say we're reversing. I would still want to see price break through this high really to say that, okay, things have shifted. I would still say we are looking fairly corrective as well, and if we do respect the trend line, there could easily be another drop. We are approaching this consolidation here, which is basically our last pause. We are retesting. The only thing I don't like about New Zealand CHF is that we lack that really killer momentum to say the trend's really healthy still. This is all very tired price action, so I'm not as convinced about another swing down. And again, if you're looking to trade the counter trend play, then I would say wait for some counter trend line breaks, break of structure, and this could actually be a very nice buy because we are after our all-time lows. So when the CHF pairs do decide to put a bottom in and do decide to see some upside, we should be expecting some real serious momentum here. because typically after we do create all-time lows, price normally snaps up pretty aggressively and trends for a while, and it's normally quite aggressive. If you look at each time we do eventually have that snap up, it's normally quite aggressive. So I do expect to see that come into play at some point. Difficult to say when, which is always why it's difficult to try and catch bottoms, because you don't know necessarily when it's going to form. But when we do look at a break of structure, we can be a bit more confident that we are going to see that move. So that's what I'd wait for if you're looking from a bullish perspective. And if you take a look at a couple more USD pairs, dollar CHF is an interesting one, because this is a Swiss pair accompanied with the dollar, and USD is very strong. So you've got a strong currency in USD, you've got a strong currency in CHF in terms of it has been strong, but it might be looking to take a break right now, and that could mean there's room to the upside for dollar CHF, because CHF is losing its chokehold and USD is just about to gain one. So I would suggest if we can break through the high here, because this is actually still a pretty critical level of resistance, which we could very much sell off from. The reason why I'm not so interested in still shorting dollar CHF is because this trend looks really tired. You can see if I draw a line off that low there, we tried to create new lows. I mean, we technically did, but we snapped straight back in. So it's a sign that the sellers aren't really seeing the force they once were seeing. And especially here as well, we tapped back into it, shot back up. So clearly to me, this is a dying trend. And I would expect something like this to happen, especially with the DXY pointing up too. Dollar CHF should join the party. So I'm actually looking at some buys for dollar CHF now. Of course, not the best time to be looking to buy the market just yet, because we are approaching resistance here. But let's say if we can get a break of that, we're looking for the next pullback, maybe a retest of the high. It depends how big the break is. This is quite a stretched move, so I don't want to keep buying a stretched move. I need to stretch some more before then I can look for a snap in the opposite direction. But I am favoring some buys here for dollar CHF. I don't have the setup on paper yet, but I'm keeping an eye. If we take a look at one more CHF pair, I suppose Swiss yen's a good one. This one, of course, has been really bullish, but yen being weak has been a big factor too. And as I said earlier in the stream, I like this zone here, 189.3. That's really where I do want to see price push towards before I do look to long. I'm not a big fan of the zone price is trading in now, because we've only just about made new highs. It wasn't convincing, and because the market's quite stretched, I do want predominantly deeper pullbacks anyway. So 189.6, keep a close eye, and I think that's a really nice place for a swing. I don't want to see price break underneath this low. If we do, that's a sign of precaution. Again, I wouldn't say we're reversing there, but perhaps maybe this bullish market does want to take a deeper breather. So I'm not going to be so active or aggressive with the buys in that case. And in terms of the Nasdaq, Nasdaq stalling last week. Of course, we had the gap to start the week off pretty bullish, but then midweek we started to find a bit of resistance and some wicks formed, and we couldn't really break through. So I did suggest this level here. Well, I actually suggest this 2 weeks prior. It's just that we had the gap, so we never came back to retest it. But it's still a really nice place for a buy. Of course, you could even look to try and pick off some longs on the gap fill as well. If price can come and retest the gap, that's also a nice place for a buy. But because the Nasdaq is so bullish right now, you're just looking for opportunities to buy it. Really, I would ignore any opportunity to sell it. There's no real point in that. Even if you do get a good sell, it's going to be a short-term move and a more difficult trade to take in these conditions, especially an indice which historically just keeps climbing higher. I wouldn't really try and take the short there. So Nasdaq's very bullish. You've got a nice zone here. I like how price is moving down as well. It's really corrective, which implies this is probably just a pullback for us to continue higher anyway, as long as we don't have like a big change in momentum. This is likely to keep pushing higher. So 2 zones to keep in mind. Let me have a look at the S&P as well. Basically the same pattern at play. This one actually has come back to test the gap. So there's a potential continuation from here. We might come back to revisit, so I would keep an eye on that. Back into the low before we do push on. But last week I was talking about this zone here for a retest. It'd be nice to see price come back, retest this zone, and then continue. But we were too bullish for that. This is still a zone to keep in mind. Just because we've had a bullish week doesn't mean this zone doesn't matter anymore. It's still there, so keep an eye. But these are two zones I'll keep an eye on, and then the Dow Jones as well. Pretty bullish, not as bullish as the S&P or Nas, but still doing its thing. Again, you've got the gap there. Price has found support in the gap there too. You've also got this zone just below it, which also looks good for a buy. And again, I like how US 30 is looking really corrective here. I do still see higher prices for this one too. So yeah, two clear zones, depending if you're a bit more intraday or looking for a swing. Of course, if you're looking for a swing, the deeper zone is going to be something you'd be a bit more attracted to. I think the gap there could be a nice opportunity for like a quick trade intraday. You don't have to be looking to take it back to highs every time. Sometimes it's just, okay, prices hit a big level, it's likely to react. So I'm going to take advantage of that reaction, take most of my profits, and then run. And of course, if you're looking to try and swing it to highs, I'd focus more on the swing idea lower down. But yeah, indices still looking pretty bullish in general. All right, take care, Yusuf. Have a good one, my man. Appreciate you tuning in to the stream. Hopefully, we'll see you again tomorrow. But yeah, with the indices, everything's looking pretty bullish. Let me have a quick look at the FTSE as well. Whilst we're on the topic. Yeah, FTSE is crushing it too, looking really bullish as well. Probably in need of a bit of retracement though, starting to look a little bit tired. But yeah, the trend in the higher time frames is still looking good. And we've got that big level 10K for the FTSE. We're only not far away, so I think we'll probably still like to be gunning for that, maybe for the next big correction. So yeah, indices in general, you're just looking for buys. Don't need to overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. All right, take care, Bashi. Appreciate you tuning in as well. But yeah, just keeping it simple. Bullish markets, buy them, especially when you got markets with like one direction. The S&P, Nasdaq, they're all pointing up. Currencies don't do that, so you can try and play both sides, and it makes sense too. And of course, there will be times in bear markets for the S&P as well, where shorts make sense too. But 80% of the time, the market is just trying to create new highs, really. So, might as well stick with the trend than go against it. If you want to go counter trend, FX pairs are better because they actually will give you some good counter trend moves. And maybe like oil and stuff, other commodities, metals as well. Actually, metals, you have to be careful. Metals can be good, but of course, when they're explosive, exponential kind of moves, like we've seen with gold and silver, you don't want to go counter trend there. But when they're not in that environment and a bit more sideways, you can find some nice counter trend opportunities there too. But yeah, guys, for the week, like I said, the top three setups are like Euro downside, Dollar Yen upside, and GA downside. More swing opportunities, so I'm not expecting them to just set up instantly. There's a chance they might not even set up this week. I do have other pairs I'm looking to trade as well, like I'm looking at the other yen pairs as well. I'm looking at pound yen too. There's no trade set up right now, which I'm looking to jump into just yet. Yeah, nothing yet. I mean, of course, from last week we had that big move from the Fed interest rate, so USD's been super bullish. So if you're looking to trade the USD pairs, you're either already in the trade or you're looking for some quick intraday long opportunities, really. If you're looking for like a bigger swing trade, which is what I'm looking at for quite a lot of the pairs, then I need that pullback anyway, so I have to be patient for that. So pretty much any USD pair, I'm going to have to wait for a pullback. Yen pair has been super bullish too, so I'm going to have to wait for a pullback as well. Then the crosses I'm interested in. I like pound CAD to the downside. Of course, that was really aggressively bearish last week. Need a pullback for that guy. That's going to take at least a few days. And pound Aussie as well. That's going to take a few days for a pullback too. And that's because pound was just so weak. So there's actually quite a few pairs I'm interested in. Just it's because we had some big moves last week. It's going to take some time to correct. So maybe some opportunities as the week progresses. But yeah, we'll of course be here throughout the week. So if you guys have enjoyed the stream. Make sure you tune in for following streams throughout the week, every weekday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time. So if you have interested, make sure you're here again, same time as usual. If you have enjoyed it, drop a like before you do leave. It does really help out. And of course, subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done so already, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Share it with your friends as well, it does help support the channel. And of course, check out the channel memberships for exclusive members only videos and trading opportunities as well. I do share my trade ideas there too. So if you are interested, check out the channel memberships. It is linked below. But guys, appreciate you tuning in. I hope you all have a great day. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.
Six AI agents, each built with a unique edge. Miko, AI, Team Leader. Ori AI, Fundamental Analyst. XAU, AI, Technical Analyst. Mesa, AI, Risk Management Specialist. Fenwa, AI Market Sentiment Analyst. And Naledi AI, the cryptocurrency expert. Together, they're engineered to protect, guide, and transform your trading. The future of trading is here. Experience Zentrix AI.